Hey guys, good morning. Happy Thursday. It is 8 a.m. Eastern. Beautiful fall day here in Boston. Loving this weather. I'm sure it'll be snowing before I know it, but I love it for now. So again, my hair's always wet. Just took a shower, just did my class this morning. It was awesome. A few things today. First, for those of you in the 7-day Cue That Tune challenge, you guys are rocking it. I am loving the detail of the descriptions of all the stuff that, all the songs that we're giving, and everyone's participating. It's just like making me so happy, so thank you. I'm gonna pop in there after this. So if you're listening to this and you're in the challenge, hop on over there after this. I'm gonna jump in. A few things today. Just a couple questions. By the way, if you're not in the challenge yet and you want to be, there's still time to join. We're about halfway through, but you can always go back and retroactively cue the song. So if that's something you're interested in, let me know. I'll send you the link. Just message me. So our questions, I'm reading them on my phone, so I have a million different electronics working at once. Amanda asked a couple of things. First question, what would I consider the top text for cycling? Instructors, I'm assuming, and what would I consider the top text for training in general? So, and she gave an example of why she wants to know this. So a few things here. When it comes to training of any sort, cycling or otherwise, it's very hard to get your hands on accurate, good material unless it's through a training course. Now, that's not entirely true, but I will say the best information I've gotten both as an instructor and as a trainer, a personal trainer, is through some sort of continuing education or initial certification course. Those materials are usually very expensive because they include the price of a test of whatever you're trying to do. But especially, so I'm ACE certified personal trainer, and I would highly recommend it. I still reference the books, the materials that I had for that. It's very helpful. By the way, guys, if you're cycling instructors and you are not a trainer, which I know a lot of you aren't, that's fine, obviously. But I would, if you're like a fitness junkie and it's something that it's your passion and you really enjoy cycling, I would highly recommend you look into training. It's a huge jump. I personally don't even train that many people. I just do it to keep myself in it and understanding it. But there is so much benefit to understanding the greater body and how it works, how the muscles work, how you can actually strengthen, what's important to strengthen and protect for cycling and for other things in your life. Functional exercise is huge. So that being said, again, I'm straying from your question, Amanda, but I would say for personal training stuff, ACE, ACSM, or NASM are the big ones that I know of. All have great training materials. If you're willing to invest in an actual certification course, you don't even need to get certified, but if you want to just buy their materials, they're pretty pricey. I'm sure on eBay or Craigslist or something you could find some used books if you just want to read through them. And honestly, maybe you'll read through them and you'll say, this is awesome, I want to start training people. So I highly recommend going through one of those big courses and getting the books for that. There's a lot of just books on training. There's one by Michael Boyle about functional exercise. I forget the name, I think I wrote it down. Advances in Functional Training, which I like. But without having the basis of what you would need as a personal trainer through the things that I already mentioned, through that training material stuff, it's going to be a little hard to understand everything. There's a lot to being a trainer and a lot to understanding all of that stuff, and it takes a while, but again, super valuable and super interesting. If you're, again, a fitness junkie and you just want to know, I highly recommend it for you guys. They're actually terrible. I got the gel stuff, the dip stuff on it, and now my nails are terrible. Sorry, Josette said nice nails. Anyways, now I'm gonna hide them the rest of the time so you can't see. Okay, so that was not helpful. I'm sorry. I think, Amanda, again, training manuals are your best bet for good texts. So any sort of training course. Now, make sure you look at reviews and make sure it's the kind of course that you would want to be certified in, because those are the materials that you would want. But anything in terms of cycling, anything Mad Dog, Schwinn, any of the big guys, they do a lot of obviously initial trainings, but also continuing education on power training. And I know I've talked about that before. Mad Dog does one that I loved. A lot of materials through that stuff. Now they can be expensive, so I know it's not ideal. Another thing you mentioned or you asked about Instagram or YouTube resources for this kind of stuff. I don't know about that. I know I put up these videos on YouTube. I haven't seen anything else similar, but in terms of podcasts, if you're a podcast listener, Barry Ennis has a fitness career mastery podcast, which is a little bit more about group fitness in general. And a lot of it is not related to actual physical fitness, but it's talking about, being inspirational and figuring out your voice and all the little things we need as instructors. That's super helpful. So Fitness Career Mastery Podcast with Barry Ennis. He's awesome. I've actually talked to him a few times. So I highly recommend you guys listen to that. If you're into podcasts, just put it on in the car whenever you're driving somewhere. It's great. Another one, what was my other podcast I had? Oh, there's an indoor cycling instructor podcast, believe it or not. They've recently changed who runs it, and it's a little bit different than it used to be, but if you can access all the old podcasts, they have a lot of really good info for cycling instructors in there. So check that out. I'm not even sure if you can get to it through the podcast app anymore. You might have to look online. I'll see what I can find for that. Remind me if you're looking for it and you can't find it. Indoor Cycling Instructor Podcast is what's called. So it's both good resources. Amanda, if you can tell me a little bit more about specifically what you're looking to learn, we can get more specific on books or other resources for you. But when it comes to learning too, if you have access to a mentor, a personal trainer who can let you shadow, that's how I initially learned. I'd basically just followed around a trainer every weekend after my spin class. I'd go follow him around for like 3 hours and just watch him train people. And I learned, not only did I learn, how to train, the beginnings of it, but I also learned if it was something I wanted to do, and I loved it. So I would highly recommend that as well. That was a lot, I know. If you want to get more specific, just let me know. I love his podcast. Yes, it's so good. I know, Amy, I don't know what happened. It used to be easy, and then when they switched over the owners, you can't access it anymore. So I actually emailed them, and I talked to one of them on the phone, saying that I was having tech issues accessing the Indoor Cycling Instructor Podcast, and they said they were working on it, but I haven't seen it pop up. So it's a shame because there's so much good info on there, but hopefully it's at least still online. I think if you go to the individual blog posts, you can listen. It's just hard to find a specific podcast. Anyways, enough about that. Sorry. Okay, and the only other question we had for this week, oh, sorry, I had one more thing I want to mention to you, Amanda. When you're looking at personal training books, I would say the bulk of those teach you how to start a personal training business, not how to be a personal trainer. So it's about sales and marketing. So just make sure if you're looking at books, like you're in the library or something, and it says, I think there's a For Dummies book on personal training, but I think more than half of it is about how to, sell to people, which is not what you're looking for. So make sure you are aware of that when you're looking. Okay, Mary, the only other question we asked was from Mary. She said, when having a personal problem, does that affect everybody's teaching? Do you go harder? How do you not have it affect your teaching? So anyone who's on and wants to chime in on that, I have a feeling what you're going to say. But Mary, for me, I channel it. I use it. I make sure that the tone or the emotional theme, as I like to call it, psychopoet method, matches what I'm feeling for the day. So I usually plan my playlist ahead of time, but I always leave a few songs that allow me to kind of channel how I'm feeling for that day. So if I'm in kind of a solemn mood, I'm sad or something, then I put in maybe a slower song, a little bit more of a song where people can connect to the music and whatnot. If I'm feeling super energetic, I'm pumped up, something really exciting just happened at celebrating, I use that. And I tell them that story, whatever it is, because you want to connect with your riders, right? And then you use music that will, and you use a ride that will kind of go with that. So a little bit more power, a little bit more energy, a little bit more flair. It's hard sometimes to channel that emotion. I totally get it, especially if you're going through something hard. But I would just say, you know, do your best to channel it and make it the way that you would want to share it with other people. Because first of all, I bet you people in that room are going through something hard as well. And hearing, you know, misery loves company a little bit. And it's also just that support of having someone else who gets it. So I think they would appreciate if class, you know, showed that a little bit, and you weren't always like perfectly happy and everything wasn't always great and roses. You know, people appreciate that. And I would also say, you know, if you just have a bad day, a bad class, it doesn't go well, everyone has that. So if that's why you're asking, because maybe it affected you and you didn't feel great, you didn't feel on your game with it, then you just see it as an opportunity to work on channeling that kind of energy and figuring out how to use it in your classes. But it's not the end of the world if we have, you know, an off day. So I wouldn't worry too much about it. All right, guys, let's see. Anything else in the comments? I don't think so. All right. That's all we got. Again, if you're in the 7-day Cue That Tune challenge, hop over there because I'm going to go in there next. And everybody else, I will see you next week for Hoerner Happy Hour. See you later.